Tonight on the podcast, I have none other than independent pro wrestler and adrenaline wrestling women's champion, Emily Locke. And it happens right now.
The Everett Show Podcast, a shot of entertainment.
Emily Locke, welcome to the podcast, Everett Show. How you been?
I have been fantastic. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
It is. I had an exciting weekend watching you tear it up in the ring at Adrenaline Wrestling, man. Chapter 2.
Yes. That was a good show. That was a really good show. They put on a real good show.
They did. My brother sat right up front there. We were the ones that were the rowdiest there. We were the John Strange crazy bastard fans right there. Me and my brothers. We wore the face, the face plates.
We love rowdy fans. I love rowdy fans. So thank you for that. Thank you for keeping the crowd into it. That's always appreciated.
Yeah, the ring announcer, I forget his name, man. I've seen him ring announce so many times at so many promotions. I can't remember his name offhand.
I wish I could tell you, but for the first show we had a different girl. Her name is Della Rosa, but then I can't think of his name. I wish I could. He's sweet though. He's really good.
He is. He over there in intermission said, "You guys are like rowdy. You guys have so much energy." And I was like, "Well, yeah. When you get four brothers together, you're gonna get that type of energy."
Oh yeah.
You definitely are. You don't have no siblings, do you?
Well, see, I have an interesting family dynamic. I have 4 step siblings, but I have 2 half siblings. So, but the step siblings I lived with for a little while, but my half siblings, they lived in a different state. So I consider myself an only child because I didn't get my step siblings. My mom got married when I was 14. So my whole life I was an only child. So yeah.
Okay. I sometimes feel like it. I do. It's just it gets crazy. It does.
Sure.
It does. I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters. I have I'm the youngest, and actually I'm near the youngest. I have a younger brother, and yeah, being the youngest, you get a lot of stuff.
I'm sure. I couldn't imagine. That sounds crazy. I can imagine the bathroom situation. That's probably the worst. The bathroom.
Yeah, especially, we did at one point have one bathroom growing up, so that was pretty crazy.
I would go. That was my situation when it was me, my mom, my stepdad, and I had 2 step siblings. That was it. So there was only 3 kids in the house, and I was still we only had one bathroom, and I was like, this is rough. As soon as you try to go, somebody else is in there. So I give you props.
Yeah. It was. You ever seen that cartoon called The Loud House?
I've seen bits and pieces. Yes.
It was almost like that. I know the cartoon it's Lincoln Loud. He is one boy, and he has 9 sisters, and they got one bathroom in the house. Yeah, that's pretty much how the situation was with me growing up.
Rough.
Yes, definitely rough. I was talking with you there before we started recording. I love the setup. I love the gaming chair. I love the headphones and the microphone. It's great to actually talk and do a podcast with someone who has a great setup like myself with the headphones and microphone. And I love the gaming chair, man. I need to get one. I definitely need.
Here, I'll tell you this right now. This is a nice. It looks nice, but it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. I'll tell you that. So, my piece of advice is maybe if you get one, invest in one that's comfortable that you're going to want to sit in, because this is. But even it has a foot holder, but I still am just not in love with it. But I think what it is because it's leather. So if you're okay with the feeling of leather, yes, but. I want something. I want a couch. That's why I was telling my stream. I just want a couch. I just want to sit here on a couch and be comfortable.
Yeah, always a couch is great, man.
Yes.
I always hit the couch. Watch IWTV. I always watch IWTV. I've been a fan of that. Been watching Uncharted territory this season because they've been down in the South. They've been in Tennessee. I don't know if you've watched. Are you familiar with IWTV?
I know what it is, but I don't really watch it now.
There's a lot of promotions on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's like I forget how many promotions they have them all over, from the north to the south to the west, even overseas, and even Australia, Mexico, and they've been doing Uncharted territory. It's hosted by Beyond Wrestling from up in Connecticut, and
I've heard of them. Yeah.
They decided to do season 4 down in the South because AC Mack won the IWTV Independent World Heavyweight Championship. And he said the only way that's being defended is down south. And they decided to do Uncharted territory this season in Red Bank, Tennessee at the TWE Arena. And they're in probably about 11 episodes already. And it's been great, man. Jonathan Gresham showed up and wrestled Jaden Newman.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, they did a pure wrestling match, and they tore it up, man. Jaden, he hung with Jonathan, man.
That's good. That's good, because I'm sure that's like, when you step in the ring with somebody like Jonathan Gresham. You know what I'm saying? It's so much. It's a lot. It's intimidating, but that's good to know. Congrats on him.
Yeah, it was great. And Adam Priest, he stepped in the ring with Jonathan Gresham at New South before, and it was for that Ring of Honor Pure Championship. And you've seen pure wrestling matches where you only get like certain amount of rope breaks.
Yes. My coach did a couple of those. So yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that because it's like, okay, what kind of skills you can do, because it's like getting down to it and just getting down to the technicality of wrestling, which I love. It's one of my favorite forms there, because one of my favorites was technical wrestlers is Bret the Hitman Hart. He's one of my favorites there. I was watching a podcast with you, and you've not been in wrestling that long, have you?
No. So my wrestling story is a lot different than a lot of other people who are in wrestling right now. I did not grow up watching wrestling. Wrestling, I started getting into it probably about 2015, 2016, and when I was in college, and I found a group of friends who was really into wrestling and kind of just like went with it. And I actually started training at the beginning of COVID, literally 2 weeks after I started training. We had 2 weeks of classes, and then COVID shut everything down, like completely shut the world down. And so I only had 2 weeks of training, and which obviously you can't wrestle with COVID. We couldn't do anything. So we had to shut down for a long time. And then my coaches decided to do we'll bring, like, once they said, okay, you can have 10 people. We split our classes, because my class was pretty big at the time. And so then when we all came back together, it's probably like September, October, when we finally were able to come back together. It was like finally when all the magic started to happen. And then I made my debut in, it's actually just over a year. So I just made my 1 year at the end of June. So yeah.
Wow. That's just a year. Wow. You're still green.
I'm very green.
You're green.
I'm very new. I'm very, very new. Yes.
Yeah. From what I've seen so far, because when we were talking before we started recording, we mentioned Knockout Wrestling. I did watch you wrestle at Knockout before that. I think that was the first time I seen you wrestle at Knockout. And that was a pretty crazy gimmick you get there.
Listen, I'm gonna be full disclosure.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Full disclosure, yes, absolutely. Full disclosure. That was what I was asked to do. So, because on the independent, you'll have your character, you'll have your gimmick, but sometimes the promoters need you to do something different. And so in that situation, this was the first time that was the first time I ever had to be a heel on a show. So like I actually, when I was training, I preferred to be a heel. Then when I debuted, I was a babyface, and I was like, whoa, I love it. And then I like had started to develop my character, and then Knockout was like, hey, I need you to be a heel. Like I want you to be crazy. And I was like, you got it, dude. So yeah, so that was like, because my character is like your next best friend. So like I want to be everybody's friend. And since I'm a baby face, none of these heels want to be my friend. And they're like, well, okay, we need to make like our champ a face. So let's make you a crazy heel. Because I wasn't really sure how to go about the friend gimmick.
Right.
When you're, a heel. But so I got a help, and like basically it was more of like the stalkerish. So that was the whole plan to go into Knockout, to be like, I was like Anna's stalker. Like I was her stalker. I was crazy. I wanted to be her friend. Anna's like, yo, like stop, you're weird. We cut a really funny promo about that, and I was like, I followed her to her apartment complex. It was a very interesting with what it lasted. But now I've kind of evolved my heel character a little bit differently. But yeah, so I'm glad that stood out, and I'm glad that makes me happy knowing that if, like, somebody who didn't know, because I was nervous. Full disclosure, I was nervous. They're like batshit crazy, and I was like, okay.
You pulled it off good. You pulled it off good, because I was there watching it, and who the heck who was it you wrestled again now?
Anna
it
Diaz,
was
Anna Diaz.
Okay. Yes. That's Gangrel's daughter, which a lot of people don't know about. But she's great. Yeah, you wrestled against her, and you kept grabbing that phone, and you wanted to take a selfie. And then I remember at the end of it, you I'm trying to jog my memory here because it was a while back ago.
Yeah.
You threw that fit in the ring. I thought was great.
So what I did was I had to get disqualified. So I was like, I would not let go overhead. And then I had to hit her with a chair, right? Well, again, I don't want to break kayfabe, but there was supposed to be a chair for me. And I asked people, I was like, did you put it where it's supposed to go? They're like, yes, I promise. I put it there. And then I go, and there's no chair. If you remember, I'm walking around the ring. Like, I'm in my head, I'm freaking out, but I was still going a little crazy. I screamed at Thump, and I was like, give me a chair!
I remember I was sitting next to him. If you remember, I was there with commentary. I was helping him. Yeah, you remember.
And then that was my first ever chair shot I had to give, and I hit. And if you remember, those chairs are soft, so I hit, and it was like poof.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then somebody took my phone, so I had to put my phone on that stage, and somebody took it, and so then I'm screaming, "Where's my phone?" Because everything was falling apart. It's still, I mean, I'm glad that you it was all good to you, but in my head, I'm like, this is all falling apart. I'm so upset.
I loved it because I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Thump's sitting there and he's whispering over me. He's like, yeah, check this out, man. Check this out. He's like, what? And I'm watching. And I'm like, I see. And then when you came up, you're like, I was like, and then what was it? Who the heck was sitting with us doing the commentary with Drake, what's his name? The Natural 20, Drake Xavier. Yeah. He had to give up his chair. He was, if Drake watches this, man, hey, man, you're doing okay with commentary, but man,
I felt so bad. I was like, I need to get this chair some way, shape, or form. I had left her in the ring for probably like 2 minutes, and I was like, oh my God. But it worked. It worked though. So
it was entertaining. I was entertained by it because it's like, okay, you get this crazy person. Mm-hmm. Okay, you nailed it, and I'm surprised that I brought that up. It's like not many people remember you doing the crazy friend gimmick because mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, it's like I know you. You've always run into someone in life that's kind of crazy, kind of that, like, let's just be friends. And it's like cringeworthy. You're like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. I got some sane friends,
Yeah, I got some. I'm good here. Yes.
I'm sure I'm sure being since I looked up on YouTube and there's some matches here and there with you, and I'm just kind of curious now with fan interaction. Have you had any crazy fan interaction yet?
I wouldn't say anything like that stands out that's crazy.
Hmm.
I would say that like my most like I have a lot of positive fan interactions because like I said, I'm mostly babyface. I wrestle at New Heights up in Fort Walton, Defuniak. And that is, I will say, working up in the Panhandle is a completely different experience. Like North Florida, South Georgia, completely different experience. And well, I could talk about a couple of things, but like at New Heights, it's like everybody's like coming up to me like, oh my gosh, you're awesome. Like, and it's like there was a time, my last time I was up there, I was in a tag match with Tiny Tonally, and we were like, they came like we had line, like a full line just for people to talk to us. And I'd say the best thing, like that's just like a good like feeling, like these people don't know who I am. Like that was on my second time that these people don't know who I am. I come out there and they're coming up to me like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. You're amazing. Supporting, buying merch, like all that kind of stuff. And it's like such a great feeling. But then now that as I'm talking about this and I mentioned South Georgia, I actually wrestled for SWA. And I had to be a heel there. And my character there is, I'm too good for you. I don't want to be your friend. I'm too good for you. And I was getting called a hussy up there. I was getting called all these names. And I'm just like, yes, give it to me when I'm a heel. I want that. But it's just like, and they'll come up to you and be like, you suck. You're a cheater. You're a loser. And it's just like, okay, bye.
Kayfabe, man. Kayfabe.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, wait till you get to Kentucky, man. You get up there, kayfabe's not dead. You get up there and you're a heel and they know it, and you do something, they're gonna call you out. You're gonna get that heel heat up there in Kentucky.
Good.
I'm telling you.
I've learned, like, as I was mentioning earlier, I like loved being a heel when I was practicing. And then I debuted and I like being a face, and now I've worked heel a little bit more, and I'm like, maybe this heel thing, because I like getting heat. I like when they are talking crap to you, and personally I think it's easier to get people to hate you than to get people to like you. So it's like, and I just like, all you have to do is just come out. And especially if you're going against somebody who they already love. Like at SWA, I was wrestling T Gaines. T Gaines is like a goddess to them. And so like all I had to do was come out. They heard women's match and they heard somebody else's music and they're like, nope, shut it down. So it was great.
It is being a heel. You get to be more creative. You get to do what the face can't do. The face, right. They got to have the crowd love them. A heel, you got to. It's easy to make. It's like all you got to do is you go to someone's town. You just you shit on the town. You just shit on their hero, and then they're gonna hate you. You bring the heat, and you bring it into that match too.
Oh yeah,
which is great. And so far from what I've seen, you've done pretty good at bringing the heat, man. You've talked to quite a bit of veterans, don't you?
Yeah, I would say that I have a lot of like opportunities to talk to a lot of people who've been in the business for a while. I'd say like where I trained, first of all, I trained with Jay Lethal and Big Con, David Mercury. And they have brought in a lot of people. We had a seminar with Mick Foley. We had Eric Redbeard come to our school. We've had Victor come to our school. I could name a whole bunch of people. So like my coaches have given us so many opportunities, to learn. And then since I'm like not trying to plug, but I do a podcast with some people, and I've got to meet people through there, and just be in locker rooms with people that you just get to meet and you learn from. When I'm in a locker room, like I've been in a locker room with Haggis, all that. So it's just, so you get so many opportunities to meet people. And sometimes I like to just sit back, watch, say, okay, what did I do? What did they do? Because they've been in the business longer. What could I have done better? And obviously talking to them, but sometimes the time isn't right. So, but yeah, and then I've been in a locker room with my coach, David Mercury, countless times. So that's a great opportunity because then if he's able to, he can watch my match and be like, hey, coach, critique me, please. So yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm very happy with how who I've got to meet in my career so far. So
That's great. You said Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal, I got to see him wrestle live back in 2016 in Fort Lauderdale. Ring of Honor did a show in Fort Lauderdale, and it was at the same armory where Dusty Rhodes won a championship at. And that's back when Cody Rhodes was still with ROH, the Bucks, the Bullet Club was still in full swing. And that's when Cody was, came out with the American Nightmare, had the t-shirts. My nephew, Cody, of course, he had the American Nightmare Cody. It was great. He still wears that shirt, but I got to see in the main event, it was the Bucks, Omega versus Jay Lethal, Dalton Castle, and I forget someone else. I forget who else was with them, but seeing Jay Lethal wrestle live was just great. I loved it. I know he wasn't getting too many cheers in the crowd, but I was like cheering it anyway because I was like, this is great. I had seen this guy wrestle a bunch of times on Impact and ROH, and here he is right here. And I soaked it all in. I loved it. It was a great show. It definitely was a great show. And you said David Mercury.
Yes.
And I almost forgot about him because I seen the gimmick, I seen the promo, but then when we were sitting there at the show and when he came out, my brothers are like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "What?" This first time I saw David Mercury wrestle was at the show this past Saturday. He comes out and we're just like, wow, we love this. And then when he got in there and he started wrestling, my brother leaned over to me. He says, man, he's doing some technical stuff. I said, this is going to be a technical wrestling match. I was like, this is going to be the most technical match of the night.
Yeah. He's amazing. He goes by the Technical Alchemist. I just love his gimmick. And he was actually wrestling. He was wrestling one of his students. I was one of his students. Fun fact. You could be like, hey, coach, teach me this move, like this, submission. He's like, I got you. Like, he is so technical. Coach, he's great.
He is.
Yes.
I want to see him do a submission match with someone. I want to see him do that, man.
I'm sure he has. I mean, he's been wrestling for, I think, close to 20 years. So I'm sure I'm sure you could search submission match David Mercury on YouTube, but I'm sure it's there. I probably could find it. And just to mention, look forward to seeing David Mercury on this podcast in the future. Yeah.
Yep. Just for everyone's information, tuning in and listening. Yeah, you're gonna hear and see David Mercury on here soon. That's all I can say right now.
Woo!
So I'm looking forward to that. But training, going through the training and stuff. You said David Mercury trained you, and what was that like? What I always ask everyone this when I have them on a podcast. I said, how was it taking your first bump in the ring?
Oh gosh. Well, so here's the thing: is like I said, I probably my class probably had the most unique training experience just because of like everything with COVID and everything. But taking your first bump. Honestly, I was so scared. I think because the way we were taught was a very methodical way. It wasn't like go in there and just boom, take a bump. Like it was, all right, first we're going to do this. Then we're going to do it took like an entire 2 to 3 hour class period just for us to understand the logistics of it. Because, it looks like, you're just going in there and flinging yourself, but you have to fall properly or you're going to hurt yourself. And so we were learning how to fall properly. And but then every single day after we learned how to take bumps during our warm-up, because we did this very intense warm-up where we did rolls and up and overs and all the things you could think that you don't think the wrestlers need to know how to do, but we need to know how to do. And it always ended with a back bump, a flip bump, a T-bump, and then a face bump. And if you didn't do any of them right, they're like, do it again. Come on, that wasn't pretty. So yeah, it was, and but you know, I think my coaches taught us very well, but it doesn't feel very good, especially if you don't bump perfectly in the center. Yeah.
Yeah. Ask Draven Blaze. You know Draven.
Yep.
Ask him about Everett taking a bump in the ring at CFWE. He'll tell you about that.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Ask him about that next time when he's at the next Adrenaline Wrestling show. Yeah. Everett said, ask you about that bump he took in the ring. He'll tell you.
Oh goodness.
Twice.
you like, that's the thing, is like, so many people don't realize that what a wrestling ring really is. Like, it is bare, but it is nothing. And there's some rings like have more padding than others. Some rings might not even have padding, so you might just be bumping on wood, you know? So that's like, it's always important as a wrestler to go in and like kind of scout out the ring. Like, but every ring is different. And so, I mean, like, my school has we had two different facilities, and the facility that I trained in, the ring was a nice ring, like nothing to complain about. But then they got a brand new spick and span ring, and I go in there and I take a bump, and I'm like, I'm bumping on a mattress. Like, what is this?
Yeah, what the ring I took a bump in was old school plywood, very thin.
Ooh, yeah, that probably didn't feel good. I'm sorry.
Oh, I took it, man. First time I did it, I was like, whoa. Of course, you get, some chuckles, and then I'm like, no, I want to do it again. Or like, it's like Oliver Twist, you want more? It's like, you want to do it again? It's like, yeah.
Yeah,
so I
do.
took it again. I was like, boom, I did it again. And then they're like, oh, you're going to be hurt and you're going to be hurt. And I'm like, I didn't feel nothing. I mean, it felt like, like someone came up and just smacked the, shit out of my back. That's how it felt like to me. But I'm sitting there, Draven's like, dude, how old are you? And I was like, I was like 42. And he's like, man, you took it. I was like, yeah. He's like, most 18-year-olds, take a bump, they start crying. I'm like, yeah. I was like, first time, 42, boom, took a bump. I'm like, bucket list, check.
You committed to it, and that's what's important.
I did. Well, it's like one of my friends that does podcasting, Robin Nelson. He used to do wrestling podcast, and he jumped into the pop culture horror because he pretty much accomplished everything he wanted to do with wrestling podcast. So that was more his love he wanted to go into. But he talked to me when he's been on my podcast a few times. He talked about when he trained up in Ohio. He lives in Ohio. He trained with Cody Hawk up in Ohio. Cody Hawk runs FGW, Future Great Wrestling, great promotion. And Cody Hawk, he got in the ring with Cody Hawk for like a week, and he survived a week. he did it for himself, not to prove, he wanted to see what it was like, and he didn't do it for anybody else to prove anything. He went in there and did it himself, and Cody gave him respect, and he got some respect from the boys, for getting in the ring and doing it, know, and, lasting that long. But it's like, man, it's like, I wonder what Cody Hawk's training is like, because he's trained, like he trained John Moxley, he's trained Eli Drake, Sammy Callahan, Shauna Reed, Hardcore Heather Owens, and, just to name a few there. And I mean, he even, what is it, Collar Alley Club? He's like, he won Trainer of the Year. Yeah. I talked to him before. Great guy, laid back. And it just interests me, like different people's techniques and training and stuff, like old school or this and stuff. And it's good that like David Mercury, Jay Lethal, and like Tehagas, you said you've talked with him and getting all that information, and you just put it all together and you take it with you. And I think that's great. I think that's great that you do that. Yeah.
It's really, I would say, like, I would say my wrestling school definitely was not like the old school style. Because you were mentioning that my wrestling school was they. I guess the best way to describe it was like they adapted to us and they made sure we were learning and they would not stop until we were learning. And which I, as myself, I was the only girl in my class, so I would say I definitely appreciated that. There was like my coaches would tell me all the time, you do the hardest things so quickly. You learn it like that. But then the most simple things, like I had to take I like almost started crying. It took me 45 minutes to learn how to take a boot to the face when the person's in the corner. I was like, like Jay kept like, keep going. And I'm just like, I can't do it. Like, I was just like, I could not do it. And he's like, you're going to get it. So like, my coaches have the style of, making sure we can do it. And they would never give up on us. And that's something I definitely appreciated. But that was one moment that stood out to me. I could not learn how to take a boot to the face. So I was like so devastated. And I was like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like everybody was on the outside of the ring just watching me. Like he wouldn't let me like take a break and come back in. It was continuous boot to the face. Nope. Try again. Boot. No, like it was intense, it's been fantastic. And then I also, Big Connor from the Ascension, he had joined my wrestling school as I was, like at the same time, like my class was going on. So he would like come to class. He ended up coaching us as well, but like my class wasn't his first official class. So getting all the knowledge from him and, it was so funny whenever he would want to show how to do things. He would always use me. I'm this little girl. And then you picture probably Big God, this humongous guy. It was fun though. So we had a lot of fun training and it was a lot of fun.
I remember Connor from the Ascension, man. NXT, it was 2014. I remember NXT coming to Daytona. And I remember seeing a no-name person just starting out named Becky Lynch. She was so humble and so happy about it's like, hey, you're great. I love what you do in the ring. And she was so like humble about it. She was like, thank you. And then there was a blue and white cheerleader running around the ring, or called Alexa Bliss. I saw both these people starting out like in NXT before they're like where they're at now. And I remember watching like the Ascension because we didn't know what the card was. And then they announced, the matches, coming out and stuff. And then when the Ascension came out, it was like, I think it was like during the main event, they came out, and that was at the time they were still, I think, NXT tag team champions, and they came out and the roof blew off. And I mean, they were great, man. They tore the place down, and they were just such a great tag team. And that's amazing. You get to, pick somene's brain like Connor. That's cool.
And he even brought Victor a couple times too to train with us. So it was, he is like all of my coaches. The best way to describe it is all of them bring something different to the table. And then when you put everything together, it's just like magic. Like, like their training techniques are so different, but then like they all mesh so well together. And it's just, I'm very grateful for my training experience. But yeah, he might look scary when he's out there, but he's such a nice guy.
He looks intense. I remember him from Intense, man. He came out there, and it's like I can tell. It's like he wanted to crack a smile, but he didn't. It's like because the fans were eating it up, and he's sitting there, and he's like this intensity, and it's like he wants to crack a smile. It's like, please crack a smile, please.
Yes.
To tell you, my brother made Tyler Breeze break character.
Oh no, that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. My brother that was there Saturday. My brother, he wore the hat. My older brother, he's a mechanic, and he pretty much over the years he's like messed up his back. When he was young, he tried to lift an engine and tore his back up. He had a surgery and stuff, and so he takes some medication, and he took some medication before he went to the NXT event with us. So we're sitting ringside and had a bunch of my friends. It was like the whole row was just all of us, just all of us. It was great. So Tyler Breeze was out there wrestling. I forgot who was wrestling, and the action spilled out of the ring, and Tyler gets slammed right into the barricade, and he falls on the ground, and everyone's just eating it up. I think he was wrestling Mojo Riley. I think it was. Yeah, if I'm for sure, I could be wrong. But while Tyler's on the ground there, my brother gets up and he goes, "Oh shit!" And he looks down and he goes, "Hey man, you want us to call 911?" And Tyler's on the ground sitting there, and he looks up and he goes, "What?" Like that.
Oh gosh, if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, it was just one of those moments. It's like he's sitting there and like, he's selling, and all of a sudden this guy looks over the barricade. He's like, "Hey man, you all right? You want us to call 911?" And it's like, what? Then he gets picked up and rolled back in the ring, and he's still trying to process. It's like, what the heck's with you, man? It's like, no, mechanic, back hurts, medication, leave him alone.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good story.
Yeah, I just never forget, looking at Tyler's face there. He's just as like, wow, my brother got him the break character.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh.
That is. Now, you said earlier, you didn't grow up watching wrestling. You said you got into it about 2015, 2016. Was it NXT, WWE you got into there about that time?
Well, so actually, my origin story is Ring of Honor, to be honest with you. So,
nice.
I know. I started watching wrestling, like, my coach, I hate to mark out over here, but like my coach was one of my favorite wrestlers to begin with. So yeah, Ring of Honor is really where I started to love wrestling, because it was, Adam Page, Adam Cole, everybody, Young Bucks, Briscoes, Jay Lethal, they were all there, and it was fantastic. And my very first show I went to, well, to be honest, I thought it was real. My friends were not telling me. And then I went to a show, and then I was like, man, they're smacking their leg. What you talking about? I was just like, oh no. But it was I still absolutely loved it. But it was, my first show was where I just absolutely fell in love with it. Jay Lethal was actually the main event. I couldn't tell you who he wrestled. I think he wrestled Dalton Castle. But yeah, Ring of Honor is really where it started with me. And then I really I was NXT was my second favorite. And I liked watching NXT. For some reason, I was obsessed with the vaudevillains. And I think it was because of their character. Because I liked, that old-timey stuff. So I was like, oh, I like that. And then Enzo and Big Cass. And then I really was if you can tell, I like tag teams. And then New Day, I really liked New Day. For a while, I was really into Shinsuke Nakamura. All of those people were really what got me into wrestling. But yeah, my origin was Ring of Honor. It was different because it was I think I liked it more because it felt at the time I didn't know that, but it felt more like an indie show, but a very well put together indie show. If I'm going to compare it to and I just thought the wrestling it just felt the matches were just so good. And it was Ring of Honor all the way for me. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I love Ring of Honor because around that time I'd jump on and off watching it and stuff. And I would try to watch it when I could because I'd go on their website and I'd watch it because they would put a new episode up, and then if you don't watch it, you miss it. It goes archived and you had to sign up. So there was that period there where I'd jump in there and get to watch it because I had it timed down Wednesdays. I'm I'd go in my other room there before my daughter was born. I had my man cave. I'd go in there. What are you doing? I'm watching Ring of Honor. I'm gonna watch Ring of Honor. So let me chill out, watch Ring of Honor. So I'd go in there and watch ROH. And yeah, I loved the list of stuff and the talent they had with ROH. I know at one point here in Daytona Beach, over on Beachside, Jimmy Hart had his Hall of Fame bar and grill, and ODB was bartended there. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah. I got to talk to her. I asked her. I had to talk to her. I was like, man, I was like, how was it hanging out with the Briscoes? And she was like, yeah, it was cool. She told me the time where she got up there and she was invited to their chicken farm. They have a chicken.
Goodness.
Yes, they have a chicken farm.
They talk about it, so
yeah, they got a chicken farm. Because they were always talking about being out there on the chicken farm on the farm. Yeah, they had a farm.
That's
they
awesome. She went to the chicken farm. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It is. Every time when I think of chicken farm, for some reason I think of Napoleon Dynamite.
See, I didn't watch this one. No. I'm one of those people that people always give me crap. I don't watch all the classics. I'll watch the classics like way too late.
Yeah. Watch any Netflix, any shows, any streaming shows that you're into when in between wrestling, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, so I'm obsessed with Stranger Things. Ugh, that last season, that had me in a chokehold. I love that. That I always had liked Stranger Things when with the other seasons, but this season was just amazing. I watched. Yeah. Love that show. I watched The Simpsons, so I'm actually watching The Simpsons start to finish. I'm on season 20 something right now, so I've watched a lot of them.
How many seasons they have? Because I've ever watched.
I think 32.
Dang, man!
And there's I think there's a close to 20 episodes each. I could be wrong. That could be completely wrong, but yeah, I'm super into The Simpsons. I love watching The Simpsons. I like American Horror Story. That's a good show, but it's that show's iffy to me because some seasons are really good and some are eh. So, but I mean, it has something for everybody. Right. I'm trying to think. I like Breaking Bad a lot. That was another good show for me.
Breaking Bad, yeah. That was intense there. I like Stranger Things. I've done a couple podcasts. The podcast I did before this one was talked about volume 2, and a few back talked about volume 1. I did those. Those are great. Talk about. Been a fan of that since season 1, and
so good.
Oh yeah, it is. Eddie Munson, man, my favorite. I
love him.
With someone like that.
Really? So, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had a friend named Todd. Todd had a Ford Tempo or Ford. I forgot what kind of Ford he had. It was one of those white Fords. And he had a Pioneer system in his car. You can hear him coming down the street, blasting Metallica, Pantera, Slayer, Megadeth, all that stuff, man. Because towards my last years of high school, I got into that music because it's I was in alternative music. And then after the grunge thing died, I'm like, all right, all these bands trying to copy Nirvana. It's what is there? So my friend Todd was like, dude, you need to listen to Slayer. I'm like, okay, what's Slayer? So he hands me a cassette. It was Raining Blood. So when I first heard that, when I heard Slayer, I'm like, dude, this is cool. This is kind of punk, but fast. I like it. Then he hands me another CD. He hands me 2 CDs. He's like, here, listen to these. Metallica, Ride the Lightning, and Pantera, Far Beyond Driven. And I'll never forget the album cover for Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, has the x-ray of the skull with the drill going through it.
I'm sure I've seen that before. I could.
Oh, yeah. Well, in 1994, that was the #1 album on the top 200 Billboard charts. Believe it or not.
I wasn't even a thought at that point.
I was a freshman in high school by 94, but he gave me this heavy stuff to listen to, and I fell in love with it. And our senior year in high school, Todd, for 4 years, was trying to make the physical science teacher say fuck, and she was trying everything. Couldn't make her drop the F-bomb once. So Todd's car got broken into, and he had insurance covered it, so he got a new Pioneer stereo. And there we are, senior year. The assistant principal was like, yeah, seniors can go to lunch, so it's cool, let's go to Wendy's. So Todd's like, all right, we'll go to Wendy's. So he pulled around there outside where the buses pick up and the doors were open that day. And it was like, spring. So he gets in his car and the stereo is blasting. So he comes over and he comes pulling up, and the sound of the stereo, we open up the door, travels down the hallways. All the doors open up. People's looking. Miss Van Dyne opens up the door. Todd, turn your stereo down. He goes, what? Turn your stereo down. He goes, turn it up, and he cranks it. And she yells, and everyone heard this clear as day. Todd, turn your fucking stereo down. Ooh, made her drop the F-bomb. 4 years. It took 4 years, and he made her drop the F-bomb, man.
Oh,
it
that's
was
amazing. And persistence. He had persistence there.
He did. Greatest moment is kind of like Bam Margera trying to get his mom dropped the F-bomb from Jackass.
Oh, that's persistence there. I mean, got to give him props for that.
Oh yeah, that was just props. Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments there, high school. And besides taking Matt's hubcaps off and putting them in a lost and found, and he couldn't get them back.
That would. Oh man.
Yeah, we took his hubcaps off and put him in lost and found. Oh, he couldn't find him. He didn't know what happened to him for a week. A friend of ours named Matt. So,
oh my goodness.
Like Chris Farley too, which was
that's
cool.
Funny. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So he goes in the assistant principal's office, or he goes in the lost and found. He's like, "Hey, those are my hubcaps," and they're like, "Prove it." And he's like, "They're mine." They're like, "No, you can't have them." They wouldn't give them to him.
I'd be like, "Look, I don't have any. Come look at my car." That's funny.
Yeah. A lot of the shit I did growing up, man. But I think it just kind of made me who the person I am.
Yeah. Hey, that's not a bad thing.
No. I think it was, at a young age, doing a lot of drugs, drinking, and also playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto.
There you go.
You, with that, when I was talking about that chair earlier, that chair of yours, streaming. You do streaming, don't you?
I sure do. So I've actually been streaming longer than I've been wrestling. So I started streaming. So I'm not from Florida. So I moved to Florida in 2019 after I'd graduated college. And I moved here. And when I was in college, my senior year, I had discovered Twitch. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm not a gamer. I'm not a gamer. So like,
no,
but I don't. And that's the thing is my Twitch is not gaming literally at all. But I discovered Twitch and I enjoyed it. And I was like, this is something I could do. So once I decided to move to Florida, I created my Twitch channel. But before I started my Twitch channel, I was like, I would hate to start streaming and have like no viewers. So I like tried to build up my Instagram so that when I had started my Twitch, people like were like prepared. And so like I had started Twitch and I was like, it like worked out pretty well because I wanted to like, have a little bit of a following before because all I did was just chatting. So I was like, it's gonna be really awkward if I'm just sitting there trying to chat and nobody's there. And I'm like, so yeah, I started that. Now with my Twitch channel, I do play Sims. I will say I do play like Sims. And I'm trying to get more into it. And me and my community, we like to do like games. Like right now we have this guy, this sim, and his name is Chad. And he is like, we keep impregnating women and keeping them hostage in his basement. Like, just some fun stuff like that. So, and then we've like, all right, I'm a big Harry Potter nerd. So I'm building Hogwarts on there and stuff like that. So, and then I played, what is it? It was like this home game where like, people hire you and you have to like renovate their house. So I'll play like stuff like that. I really liked Animal Crossing for a while, but during the pandemic, but I never really streamed it because I would get on it like after stream. I don't know. It was just kind of like a after stream relaxing thing. So my stream and I, we talk a lot of wrestling now though. Like they have been with me through my whole wrestling journey because I had started wrestling at like after I started Twitch. So a lot of my people in my community have been with me throughout everything with wrestling. So my stream is really kind of surrounded by wrestling. We'll talk about other things, but yeah, it's mostly just chatting stream. We used to do subathons. I don't know why I don't do those anymore. We had a lot of fun on those subathons. It was like, because every time I get a subscriber, something that I do is I'll put like a sticker on myself. And so for subathons, like that was where it started. And there was one subathon, I think I got like 200 subs, and it was like I like was running out of places on my body, and like I had to pie myself in the face. I had to like we were having a great. I had to like pop balloons by sitting on. Like we had such a good time. It was so much fun. I haven't done that in a while, but I want to get back to it. But with the pandemic, I was able to stream more because I was working from home and everything. So I was able to stream more, and so now I only stream twice a week. Because then when I started wrestling, training and shows and, all the things. So, and then, so, but I love it. I have such a good time. I've met so many like longtime friends from it. Maybe I haven't met them in person, but they are people that I have, I trust as friends and,
right.
There are some trolls. I mean, the social media, but I mean, it's still so much fun. And like, I've met a lot of people who like want to like come to shows and support me in shows and stuff like that. And who knows, some of my Twitch people could be at shows and they tell me like, I'm just too scared to come up to you. So, and I'm like, come on, I'm a nice person. Don't be intimidated. So, but yeah, I love streaming. I have a really good time with it. So yeah, we're still trying to come up with the more like, cause sometimes we'll just go on there and I won't really have a plan. And so I want to start like streaming like The Sims and stuff more, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Do you like a Q&A? Have you done that already? Like do any Q&As?
I mean, I kind of like my stream is more like it's just like come in, you ask me a question. A lot of the time there will be a lot of times where someone will come in and be like, "Yo, you like wrestling?" And I'm like, "I'm a wrestler," and then like it just turns into them asking me so many questions, and it's like I like to educate people on wrestling because there's so many misconceptions with wrestling, and so I like to like they'll ask me like, is it fake? And I'm like, well, see, the thing is like it's scripted, it's choreographed, it's not fake. Like I'm still like hurt, like I'm coming off an injury right now, like it's still hurt, like you get hurt, but like we do it in a safer way. But you can't gimmick a chop. You got there's so and that's and there.
Yeah, talking about chops, let me throw this in there since you talk about chops, man. That match with Eliza Hayes this past Saturday. Oh man, when she was down on the mat, I could see. I said, my brother goes, "Dude, look!" And I go, "Holy shit!" I was like, she chopped the hell out of her, man. I'm like, she took it.
Yeah, here's the thing: is usually girls, I mean, I'm not against taking chops. I'm not against giving chops, but most of the time, I don't know if like you got a lot of indie shows, but girls usually don't chop. But I knew before wrestling Eliza, I knew she chopped. And like when we were going over everything, she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you a chop," and I go, "Okay, yes, I can chop you, yes." And like, so I knew I was gonna get at least 2 because it was already talked about. So I was like, I can get like I can get some in there, and when you don't chop that often, I kind of get nervous because, you hate that, you wind up, you go to chop and it's like nothing. So but I'm glad that because I was like very proud of those. I was proud of those. Yeah,
you lit her up, man. You lit her up because when Eliza came out and she came out there, we were like, hey, like my good friend who's with us that is like a brother. I call him brother. Mm-hmm. He's old school wrestling fan. And when he saw Eliza come out and he was like, "Who's that?" I was like, "That's Eliza." I was like, her gimmick, is like, 60s love child and stuff. I go, "You want a picture with her?" He's like, "Yeah, man." I was like, yeah. I was like, "Hey, Eliza, come here." I was like, "Take a picture." He's like, and he was all like, because he's old school. He's not too much used to this. And
yeah.
And, like took the picture, sent it to him, and he was like, "Cool." So when she came out, it was like, "Yeah." But then when you came out, all of a sudden it was like, "Who's this?" I was like, "It's Emily Locke. That is that's the Adrenaline Wrestling Women's Champion." I was like, "This is going to be good." And my brother, it was funny. He kept calling Father Jim. He was like, because Father Jim kept getting in the way. He's like, "Get out of the way, Benny Hill."
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, it was fun, but yeah, when you started lighting up when you started to light her up in the ring there, my brothers, they all like started cheering for you, and it's like wow, it's like they were like impressed. They loved that match. They're like,
Thank you.
yeah, they're like, is there women wrestling here? I said, oh yeah. I said, it's going to be good too. I said,
Well, thank
you're gonna
you.
love this. They're like, we haven't seen women wrestling in forever. I said, this ain't the women wrestling you remember. It's, trust me.
Well,
And
hey, listen, you guys got to come back in September. I won't be there in August, but you got to come back in September because you heard what she called me when she came out, and JC Lev calling me out, calling me a B word.
I saw that. I watched that match on the Adrenaline Wrestling's YouTube channel, man. Yeah, that was a good match you guys had there at chapter 1. But yeah, she came out and she called you out again, man. She came called. Yeah, I heard bitch. I did hear that.
Yeah, the mic wasn't fantastic, but like she, yeah. So she actually wasn't even gonna be there, and Thump goes, hey, JC, you can you wrestle her in September? And she's like, yeah. He's like, okay, you're gonna do a promo, and then she's over there freaking out. And JC and I actually trained together, so her and I are like this is in September. I'm facing her twice in the next week. Like I'm facing her on Sunday, and then I have to face her again next Thursday. So her and I, we're gonna put a good match on. I promise. Pinky swear, but yeah.
You gotta have your dance partner. You know that. Look, like for example, Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair, good dance partners. Ricky Steamboat, Steve Austin, good dance partners. John Cena, CM Punk, good dance partners. I'm trying to think of stuff. I saw something on CM Punk, so that's why that's like fresh on my mind there. Some other dance partners like Sting and Flair. You know, you have to have that dance. You have to have that one there where is your dance partner. Yep. So she is your dance partner. You know, you're wrestling this week here in this town. And then 2 days later, you're wrestling over here in this town. Yep. You know, it's the business, man. It's definitely business. Now, since you're green and you do watch a lot of wrestling when you can here and there in between your schedule with everything that you have going on, do you have your eyes on someone that you would eventually like to step in the ring with that you haven't, or eventually?
So I'd like to. One person I'd really like to wrestle is Chris Statlander. I've been watching a lot of her lately. Chris Statlander, she's amazing, especially since she's gotten off of her other gimmick that she was. It's like amazing. She's the first one that pops in my head when it comes to on a bigger scale. Obviously, any girl would love to wrestle Charlotte. I'd love to wrestle Sasha Banks. But when it comes to more on a kind of local level. My debut was against Catalina Perez. I don't know if you know who that is, but Catalina Perez, she is really, really, really good. And she was my debut, and I want to get in the ring with her again since it's been a year. I'd like to, show her how I've changed. So that's another thing. But yeah, those are the first ones that come to mind. I'm trying to think of anybody else. But yeah, those are the top ones that I can think of right now. Usually that question, I get asked that question all the time, and I always have to am like, I'm never prepared for that question.
Yeah. Now here, I'll throw this one out there. If you're in a tag team, who would your tag team partner be?
Oh, okay. So again, that's not a question that I've ever been asked, but I will say, if I want to talk on again an indie level, Tiny Tonley and I, we meshed. We were called Tiny Locke at New Heights, and it was the fans loved it. Like this little kid came up to us because I give out friendship bracelets because when I'm a face, and she gives out medals because she's an amateur wrestler and she has actual gold medals. So she gives out fake ones, and I guess we ended up giving it to the same kid, and he was like, I put your bracelet and your medal together because you guys are just so perfect together. And it was just melted my heart. So I like to be a tag team with her. I don't know who else. I can't think of it because
yeah, that well
I'm trying to think of characters that I'm trying to think of character wise what would blend together.
Right.
Yeah. but I can't think of it. I mean, I think it'd be cool to work with like Alexa Bliss. I think she'd be one to be cool to be a partner with. Yeah, probably Alexa Bliss or Tiny.
Okay. Well, at least I got to ask you questions that never been asked before. I feel honored.
Yes, that was a good question. That one you stumped me there.
Ah, yes. Hey, I still got it. After 257 episodes of this podcast, I still got it.
You stumped me.
I finally got to stump a guess, man. I'll tell you one person who's been tearing it up this year for 2022, because I saw them put a post out there and they said they are going to basically go out and get booked every place, any place they can get. And they're only 17 years old. And that's Billy Starks.
I want to wrestle her. I really want to wrestle her.
Yeah.
She is amazing.
She is. I had her on the podcast, on my podcast about 3 years ago. I didn't even know how old she was till someone's like, yeah, she's not even like 18. I'm like, what? So she's 15 when I talked to her, and I was talking to her like she's like been around forever, in like her early 20s. But with her, it's gonna be crazy. I think Sam Roberts pointed this out. When she's 23, she's going to be a veteran by the time she's 23.
I'm over here like, oh, I'm 25. Gee, no, but she is a great wrestler. Like I was just talking to you, Catalina Perez just got to wrestle her, and I saw that poster and I was like, you're lucky. She's really good. She's really good. She is. She's building that resume, and Emily, when she turns 18. 2 companies are going to be trying to lock a contract with her. Oh yeah, 100%. And there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it's just she just needs to decide what's best for her and where she wants to go.
Right,
that's all
absolutely.
she needs to do. She does. It's like I've been a fan of Shauna Reed's for a few years now, and she's finally doing AEW Dark. Mm-hmm. She's went on there and she's made a lot of talent look good on there. And, she was on there just recently, just this past week. She wrestled Anna Jay, and she did great. And, getting the opportunity to get on there and just, I like watching AEW Dark because I get to see some of the people that I've seen or I've had on my podcast. I get to see them on there. It's like, all right, let's see. All right, how are you going to make them look good? And right. It's great. And it's great. And it's just business. I understand that. I hear a lot of people say, I don't like watching AEW Dark or Dark Elevation because they too many people get jobbed out. It's like, well, you know what? You go on there and you get asked to come back again. There's something there they solve. So they ask you to come back twice, 3 or 4 times, Mm-hmm. So eventually it's going to lead somewhere. But you should know this, or you've probably heard people say this. You got to pay your dues, man.
Oh yeah. 100%. And that's a way to do it. There's so many different ways to pay your dues. And that's the thing, is if you show up and you make one of their best wrestlers look even better. I mean, that's the reason why you're showing up and you're doing a job, because that's what they need you for. They're trying to build up especially with AEW being the rankings matter and the stats matter. They need to get they're people who they're trying to build up. They need to get them more wins. And if I have to go in there and take a whole bunch of moves, then that's that, So
right.
Yep.
Right. It's like I'll tune in and watch like OVW and Hollywood Haley J. She went in there and I forgot who she wrestled, but she went in there and she made them look good, And yeah, it's like you've been asked to do a job in there and stuff. It's like, don't be Shawn Michaels. You heard that back in the day. Shawn Michaels, his famous thing he'd say during the Attitude Era. Shawn Michaels, he's like, I laid down for no one. I remember when I first heard that, I'm like, what's he talking about? And then years later, I'm like, that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, as soon as I got in the back and doing production for wrestling, it's like, what's this mean? What's that mean? I got to pick a veteran's head, and I'm like, oh, that's what that means.
That's exactly. Yeah.
You got to understand it. And I'm like, why are you booking this? You know why? You know, it's like I look at Thump, you know, back at CW. Why are you booking this? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
I'll just shoot it for you. Whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. But this has been great getting to talk with you, and I've really have enjoyed this, and I got to find out quite a bit more about Emily Locke, and you don't got that championship right there with you.
I do. I have it in my house. Sorry, my cat just walked in here. I can go grab it.
No.
Yes, he's this is butterbeer. I can go grab the belt if you want me to. It's just in my living room.
No, that's. I mean, if you want to show it off, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, actually, that actually doesn't say. I'm glad you didn't notice. It doesn't say adrenaline.
I know what it says.
Okay. So we're getting a new belt. So maybe I'll send you a picture of it after, because I'm getting a new belt, and I'll get it in September. Because you know. Ooh.
I was I went on your Facebook there, and I was looking, and I saw the belt, and I was like, I don't say it. Okay. I was like, they're probably in the process. So
yes, we are in the process of they have it being made. They show it's gonna be pretty, like it's pretty. So I'm excited. That belt is actually really heavy. I don't know if you can tell when it's like almost 10 pounds. Like it is heavy, and especially having to pick it up after a match, being like, you know, tired, and then it's like the first time when they told me I was winning, they were like, okay, I need you to hold this belt, because when you win this, like it's heavy. And like I remember they gave it to me, and I was trying to like stand and like show it off to the crowd, and they were like, it was heavy. I was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, when I get my new one, I will send you a picture of it, because yeah, my cat likes to play with it.
I got a dog, which I guess my wife just let him out. So if my wife's out of the room, my 5-year-old daughter must not be asleep now. She'll be up. It's summer.
Yes.
Yeah. We had a daughter and daddy day today.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I taught her I was teaching her in the backyard how to ride her bike without her training wheels.
Ooh, that's a scary moment. That's a scary moment in a child's life.
She did eat the dirt there once, and she's like, I don't want to do it no more. And I was like, just walk it off. Like my dad. And I was like, just walk it off, get back on, you'll be fine. And I was like, all right, wee. It was like, so that happened. And then she has karate on Thursday night. So I took her to karate. I've been missing out. So it's like, my wife's like, you're taking her to karate tonight. I'm like, you're damn right I am, because I miss seeing her. I miss seeing her in there, man. And she catches on so quick. And last year when she was 4, I brought her to a couple of CFWE shows, and then like before the show, and then after the show, when we're breaking down, she'd get in the ring there with the kids, and she's hitting the ropes. And I had a veteran say, "That's your kid?" I said, "Yeah." She's a natural. I was like, I know where you're going with this. I said, later on in life, if she decides, then I'll be fine with it, you know. But I was like, right now, I was like, let me just enjoy her being a kid.
Yeah, being a little kid right now.
Yeah. She, I get her. She'll watch wrestling with me. She'll sit down and watch it. She'll sit down and watch. She'll watch me when I'm watching Billy Starks wrestle. She'll sit down. She'll be like, Billy. And then when we were watching a Black Label Pro show, and it's where Billy went heel, she about cried. My 5-year-old. She's like, why, Daddy? Why? I was like, Billy's bad. Why is Billy bad? I was like, Billy's going through a rough time right now. I said, it's like, how do you explain a heel turn to a 5-year-old? It's like, so the best way I explained it, Emily, was Billy's going through a rough time and she's making bad decisions. So you don't need to make bad decisions in your life.
Teach a lesson there. I like it.
I didn't know what else to do. But
hey, on the fly, that sounded great. Sorry, my cat.
Your cat's getting
Yeah, he just looked like he was jumping on the curtains. We're all good. He'll learn his lesson eventually. He's a very curious cat.
Cats are just curious. My dog sits right here and he just barks whenever he's old. He's about 9 years old.
Oh.
Yeah, he sits there and he barks. He just sits there and just like looks and barks and wants attention. You know.
Yeah. This cat, he's I just adopted. I've only had him for like a month and a half, and when I got him, the shelter was like, he's like a year and a half, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I wanted a really young cat, but then I realized like, and they took him to the vet, and the vet was like, no, he's like 3 or 4, and I'm like, he acts like this, and he's like 3 or 4, and he is crazy. He's a crazy, like in a good way, but he's like obsessed with curtains. So I had to like get these curtain things, like close my curtains. He like jumps up on everything. He like today I was just sitting watching TV and all of a sudden he's running down the hallway, jumping literally sideways on the wall. And I'm just like, he just did parkour. Like he literally for no reason whatsoever, just doing parkour. And then like he'll stop and he'll sit and then he'll fall asleep. Like he will go like crazy and then he'll pass out. And like I have these bags that like are infused with catnip. And he doesn't like getting inside of it, but like that is like what I like to call his home base or his safe space, because whenever anything happens and he gets like scared or like upset, like he has to go to his bag and sit on his bag. Like it is so funny. He is like the quirkiest cat I've ever, and he's like I said, he's very curious. He's just, I don't usually let him in this room because of all my I have so much. I have like even more stuff like that you can't even see, so I never usually let him in here, but I cleaned it out like really well. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can trust him in here. And he's just staring at the wall right now.
Right. He's planning his next move.
He is.
He's gonna go off the wall there in a minute.
He probably will. He's a funny cat. And then he'll just plop down. He'll just go crazy and then just boom, I'm done. And then sleep for 3 hours and then wake up, go crazy, and then sleep for another 3 hours. He's a funny cat. I love him, but he's quirky.
That's great. That is great. This has been fun again.
Yeah.
Fun and getting to talk with you, and I'm looking forward. I'm going next month. Yeah, I'm going to Adrenaline Wrestling, but definitely going back in September. So I'll definitely looking forward for September. You getting back in the ring.
Oh yeah, and you'll see me beat the crap out of JC Love. I'll beat her up.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. And anything that you want to plug and mention before we close out on this podcast?
I guess I'll plug up my shows. I have a show. I'll be at UCW on Sunday, the 17th. And then the 21st of July, I'll be at DWA in Largo, Florida. And then I'll be at Tampa Bay Pro coming up. I'll be at Freedom Force Wrestling coming up, New Heights. You can catch me all over the place. And all my socials are I'm Emily Locke. And then if you want to follow me on Twitch, it's just Emily Locke. I have merch. Usually my merch is, DM me and I'll give you the merch. But I also have on Shop Tampa Bay Pro. If you search Emily Locke, you'll find some cuter merch. Oh my God. And there's my cat. But I had so much fun. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry. He's being a little crazy.
That's okay. And I am Everett Lee, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in and downloading this audio and watching this video portion of this podcast. And hope everyone has a good night and a good week. And I'll see you next time for another episode of The Everett Lee Show. Peace.
Follow The Everett Lee Show on the following social media platforms: Facebook, The Everett Lee Show; Twitter, @The Everett _Lee; Instagram, Everett Lee. Subscribe, follow The Everett Lee Show on the following platforms: Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Everett Lee, and Johners Podcast Network, WrestlingWithJohners.com. Follow Podcast City Network on the following social media platforms: on their website, Podcast City Net; Facebook, Podcast City Network; Twitter, @Podcast City Net.